This is episode 3 of season 5 of Star Trek Discovery. Welcome back. This is Sean's Take. My name is Sean Redmond, and this is my take on Star Trek Discovery. At this point, this is your spoiler alert. I will assume you've seen the episode or don't care if I spoil it. I will also use clips from the show as is allowed under the fair use provision of the copyright laws of 1976. Let's dig in. So, Book, I was surprised when we saw in the last episode that Book had a connection to Maul. It's the daughter of his mentor or whatever. I thought that would be a thing, but it turns out that he was honest about it. He actually told Michael about it. So we're on our way to Trill to try and find a Trill named Jinaal, hence the title of the episode. And it's funny, they say Trill has a surface area of 500 million square kilometers, which is roughly the size of the Earth. But they say that it's huge. And so that struck me for a minute. Then I realized they said it has a surface area, which I assume is a habitable surface area, dry land. So it has as much dry land as Earth has entire space, square footage. So that is pretty big. So they have to answer a riddle, and the riddle is based on the stanzas that they had to decipher to find their way to Trill. So they get to, we have a moment where Michael, and I think this moment's important. We have a moment where Michael is talking to Dr. Culber, and they go back and forth a little bit, and Michael says, "Do you remember everything I've ever told you?" And I think it's a point. I think this is the thing with Culber. Because of everything that we're about to talk about in this episode, we have now established the fact that he doesn't forget. So I think we're setting his character up for some drama for this season. Or some turmoil, maybe. We do see Commander Rayner. I think he's commander now. No longer captain. I think he's been demoted to commander. Reporting for duty as first officer of Discovery. And he opens by saying, I used to have your job, to Michael as a joke, which is the first real moment we have where there's hope for this character, that he's not just a flat, grumbling guy, that he may actually have a redemption this season. And stick around to the end of this video. I'm going to tell you what I think his redemption's going to be. I think I already know. I have no inside knowledge. I'm just scrying tea leaves. Oh, and so Michael tells Rayner to have one-on-ones and meet the crew. Rayner's not interested in doing that, but he will follow orders somewhat. So arriving at Trill, which is, of course, where Adira's mate, friend, partner is, we find out that Adira hasn't seen them in 6 months. They've only spoken virtually, and they are nervous. And they relay this to Chief Engineer Jet, or Chief Engineer Reno, Jet Reno. So I did mention that in the previous episode. Wonder if Jet's going to show up. They have shown up. And they listen to Adira, and Adira has to go report. And Chief Reno turns and says she's walking into the slaughter, knowing what's coming, And then there is a moment where, Chief Reno waxes poetic and then, slaps herself out of it. I am glad this character is still around. It's just the right balance of empathy and snarkiness, I think. So they can't just ask the current host of the Trill symbiont that was once Jinaal. There's a little voodoo, and they transfer Jinaal's memories, essence, to Dr. Culber. And they do say, before they do it, that it can be overwhelming emotionally. And he says, overwhelming emotion is what I do. So he's basically possessed by the spirit of Jinaal, who takes over and begins to lead Michael and Book to the puzzle piece. We see Saru, Ambassador Saru, getting ready for his first duties as an ambassador. And one of the things he has to do is present on behalf of the planets that he is ambassador for to a committee chaired by his fiancée, Trina. And he does pretty good. He uses logic and he makes his case, and the vote is taken and the resolution passed the way Saru wanted it, which feels like a win until Trina's assistant lets Saru know that his doing this is going to cause problems for Trina among her base, and the fact that she's marrying a non-Vulcan or Romulan will also cause her problems. So he's adding to her problems, and there's going to be a price to pay for all of this. And Saru's a good guy. He doesn't want to do that. So he goes to, I'm going to do some of this a little out of order. He goes to Trina and says, I don't want to be any problem. I don't want you to have any trouble. I think we should hold off announcing our engagement. And she says, what gave you the idea that I needed a caretaker? Which is a great way to put that. And, basically what she said wrapped up in all of that was, I know what I'm doing. I have actually thought it through. I know the challenges that lay ahead, and I am willing to endure it. So I'm going to just finish on them because it is scattered through the episode. Saru then goes back later and apologizes, says, you're right. I was trying to handle things that I don't have to handle. If there is trouble, I will be honored to stand at your side and endure it with you. And she says, great, we're dinner past. And he says, that's it? And yeah. So I thought it would be more of a big deal. And it's a good moment to show that, they know there's going to be trouble. And as long as you go in knowing there's going to be trouble, navigating the trouble isn't as hard. It's the people that think happily ever after is a thing that run into trouble. At the beginning of this episode, we did see Trina bring Saru a plant for his office. It would have been funny had it been some sort of bamboo, like Orion bamboo or something, because if you don't know, bamboo is a good luck plant to give to people when they move into a new office. It wasn't, but it was nice that they had her do, and I thought it was cute that it's this cute little plant, and he has this elaborate spray system, plant growing is obviously a thing, but and he takes it, he thanks her, and he means it. So they did talk, and it was a funny moment, and I actually had to look up a word. They were talking, Trina and Saru were talking about their engagement announcement going out, and he did ask her if there could be an edit, if they could remove the phrase describing Saru as handsome and erudite. And she said both are accurate. And so I had to look it up. I know what handsome means. And erudite means having or showing great knowledge or learning. So it's a very Vulcan way of showing respect, isn't it? And forced me to look up erudite. So, and that's really it for Saru and Trina. It was a minor storyline in this episode. I'm not sure if it's going to pay real dividends throughout the season. I'm not sure what the writers are going to try to do, or if that storyline and the trouble that it's about to cause Trina from the Romulans and Vulcans on Navarro, if that's going to coincide with the treasure hunt for the progenitor's tech. So we get to Raynor. I think he's a great new character. I'm not sure how far we're going to get in one season progressing this guy, unless we do it all in one go. Tilly made some inroads to knocking him around. He wanted to spend 5 minutes with each crew member. They had 20 words or less to tell him something that he didn't know, that wasn't in their record. So we go through a few of them, and we go through a few of them so that we can hear it, so that later we know that that's actually what they said. And Tilly, am I saying her name right? Yeah, Tilly. Tilly starts off by saying, if I could speak candidly, and she speaks insubordinately. And he says, I didn't give you permission to speak candidly. And that sort of sets the footing for their interactions. That's really kind of a dickhead move. And then finally later, when he stops a crew member in the middle of a sentence because they got to 20 words, she flips out and she says, I'm not asking you for permission. I'm taking it. And she says, this is my turn. And basically she tells him that, you've been demoted. You lost your command. You're not in command here. You are trying to hide the fact how hurt you are that you lost your command by being an asshole. But of course, that word would have been the 20th word, so she doesn't actually say it. Or would have been the 21st word. And it seems like maybe she got through because then we see she's getting a drink at the lounge, and he walks in and walks up next to her and makes the comment that her drink looks radioactive. She's not in the mood for his humor. And then he demonstrates that, he got to know all the crew, and he rattles off, that crew member said this about ships, and that means that he has this understanding and he can be used in these ways. And that person said this, and he goes through. And he says, do you need me to go on? And she says, she schools him. Again, she schools him. And he says, well, trust has to be earned. And she says, oh, yeah, but that's both ways. And that stung him. That got in. And you saw it get in, which is why it's always nice when they hire good actors to do these things. So here's what I think about Rayner. I told you to stay tuned. Here it is. I think the redemption of Rayner will be his sacrifice to complete the mission. That before this season is over, he will be put in a position where he sacrifices his life so that Michael may complete the mission. I don't know what form that'll take, but I think that's what we're going to do with him. Just a thought. Of course, I could be wrong. It's happened before. It's already happened today. But that's what I think we're going to do with Rayner. I think we're going to gradually make him a nicer guy until we kill him, and then we're all supposed to be sad. So back on Trill. Well, let's talk about the Adira's partner. Adira was right in being nervous that there was an issue. There is an issue. And they break up in a conversation that was way too long. Could have been ripped right out of a CW teen rom something. I think it was uncomfortably bad. But I guess they have a reason they wanted to do that for Adira. Like there was almost no reason to revisit it. Certainly wasn't any reason to change it. It is the last episode, so we're going to tie up some things, but that it didn't need. Like we already went through this, and they went to Trill the first time. So maybe they just wanted to give Adira something to do. Maybe the writers realized that they didn't have anything for them to do. You can just go ahead and make them good at their job and then contribute because they're good at their job. So the rest of this story is Dr. Culber, possessed by Jinaal, leading Michael and Book to this spot where there's a diagram on the rock. Michael's supposed to retrieve the thing. There's monsters. Get your phasers ready, blah, blah, blah. Setting them up to react wrong, but they don't. They react right. The symbol was a red herring. So the term or the phrase red herring is, in this show, they say that herrings aren't red. But in fact, when you smoke a herring, it does turn red. So a smoked herring was used in a story back in 1807. There was a story written, and the author used a smoked red herring to distract a dog to allow him to get past the dog. So the red herring distracted the dog so that he could get past. That's where it was first used. That's where it comes from. So because Michael and Book figured it out that they were led into the egg brood of these animals with their weapons drawn, they were being attacked. So they put their weapons away, indicated they had no harm intended, Book used his little magic empathy thing, and everybody calmed down. So they survived. They didn't have to kill the beasts, which were weird. And so they earned the puzzle piece. So all that was, so we got the piece. The trill, that's now 1,000 years old or more. We don't know how old it was when Jinaal became the host. Can rest now. Waited all this time to pass on that knowledge. So the next bit of the treasure hunt will take them into, I forgot the name of an alien race that's going to be in canon for the first time. So the diplomats have to pave the way. So on Trill, as the symbiont is retiring and swimming away, there's a handshaking thing, a ceremony, and they all do it for each other. And so we see Adira participating, and then we see somebody grab her forearm, and then we see the thing go on and into her clothing. And it turns out it's Maul. So Maul's pretty smart. Well, Maul or Locke are pretty smart, and they knew they couldn't defeat or anything else. So now they've placed a tracker on Discovery, and they'll just go wherever Discovery goes. So that's everything from this episode. Here's what I think. I think the overwhelming emotions from that possession for Dr. Colbert is going to matter a lot. I think he's going to suffer internally. I think he's going to have an arc. I don't know what we're going to do with Adira. So the fact that we now have 2 pieces in 3 episodes, and it looks like we're only looking for 4 pieces. We're not going to find a piece an episode. And Michael did say the sentence, we have to wait for the diplomats to open the path for us to go there. Might mean that we're going to get a couple of standalone episodes before we continue the Easter egg hunt. This episode was really kind of flat. The first 2 episodes were okay. They were pretty good, especially for Discovery. They were paced consistently through themselves. This one was really erratic. And then the fight scene was useless. Meant nothing. The action sequence. It was disappointing, and it was flat. There's just some things the writers on this show can't do. But let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully we'll get back on track with episodes that have a nice pace to them. We did have the thing where we're seeing that Book is a little bit obsessed with Maul, staring at her picture. I don't know if he's going to be a problem when the chips are down. But that's it for this episode. I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you next time.